Today, we are talking about our 6-pillar framework for living an intentional life. And I'll give you a hint. We kept it simple. I would say stick around in particular for E, the last one, because that is our favorite. And do you want to give a rundown, or should we just dive right into it?
What is it that we want to be intentional about in this year? And so these are just pillars that we can focus on, honestly, and keep us on the right track. I think it's really meaningful relationships is really when you just care so deeply for each other and you have infinite amount of grace for each other as well.
So Maggie's really into dance videos right now. we did Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within. Yeah. And part of that, experience, they had these dancers come out. And now Maggie loves them and does them all the time. And Arlo does them with her. And it's so cute. And they dance together.
They're so fun. One of my favorite ones is like a Taylor Swift dance video. And I love it because as a mom, it's 10 minutes. Just 10-minute videos. And you're like, yes, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Finding Simple Abundance with Adam and Maggie. I'm Adam.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we are talking about our 6-pillar framework for living an intentional life. And I'll give you a hint. We kept it simple.
We kept it simple in the framework.
Do you like what I did there?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Well, this is a framework that we have developed as we are starting in on this year of intentional living. And honestly, it just gave us some space. It gave us like a framework, if you will, a way of thinking about how do we define the good life? That was really the question. Like, how do we live a meaningful life? How do we want to move through the world? And that's where we got to this framework.
Right. And like, what is it that we want to be intentional about in this year? And so these are just pillars that we can focus on, honestly, and keep us on the right track.
Yes.
And kind of coming back to and checking in with these 6 pillars all the time and being like, are we being intentional about this? Are we being intentional about this? Is this something that we're prioritizing? So
we're going to go through all 6 today, and we'll give you a little sneak preview. They spell out the word simple, which is the joke, I guess.
Because we're awesome.
And that was really fun and interesting. All of the categories we actually just did minor tweaks, really, to get them to be simple.
To fit into the acronym simple.
But that was a really fun experience. So I tried to be like, okay, how can we, finagle this? I would say stick around in particular for E, the last one, because that is our favorite. And do you want to give a rundown, or should we just dive right into it?
Yeah, let's give a rundown of what they are. Or just,
simple.
Yes. Yeah, simple. So the S is seek vitality. The I
is inner awareness.
Exactly. M is meaningful relationships. You want to do P?
L? Oh, so P. I can't spell.
How do we spell this?
P is pursue creativity.
L is live dynamically. I love that one.
Yeah. And E, my favorite, is embrace thriving.
Yeah.
We don't want to just get by. We want to actually thrive in this world. That's right.
Yeah.
And so we kind of went through those really quickly. The goal for this podcast today is to go through each one of those step by step and just kind of have a second to talk about what they mean to us, how we're trying to implement, different practices and actions and habits in order to fulfill that pillar.
Yeah.
And then how we are, how does that fit into the broader structure of our lives?
Yeah.
And this is just our framework. It is simple, but it is powerful.
Yeah.
And it is not perfect. And we don't always live up to it, but it gives us that guiding principle, those opportunities to check in with whether we're making decisions or whether we are just kind of deciding or feeling a little bit off course. Yeah. How can we realign with what it is that we're trying to do? And, like we said, the impetus was this year of living intentionally, but honestly, we're really trying to embody this simple framework in just how we exist in the world.
Yeah.
And I see it obviously going far beyond just our year of living intentionally.
Absolutely. And like how we incorporate it into our day-to-day lives. And so, it's really cool. I actually love that we ended up making it an acronym because then is something that we can have 6 of these things and be able to rattle them off as we're talking and having conversations, or just kind of reflecting on life and looking ahead too.
Yep.
So anyway.
I love it. So seeking vitality, number 1, S.
Seek
the
vitality.
Ultimate. Tell me, Maggie, what does seeking vitality mean to you?
Yeah. Okay, so obviously we think that having good health, both physically and mentally and emotionally, all of that, we see it all plays together. And so that's why I love the word vitality. It's different from just, I want to focus on my health. It's more than that for us, I think. And it encompasses a lot of different practices, both physical, mental, whatever. But I don't know, and maybe a lot of them are physical that we're focusing on, but we understand that it's the whole body as the system, the whole,
how we show up in the world.
Emotional. Yeah.
There's a sense of vitality that I think goes beyond just health. And it kind of in that same idea of thriving, which we'll get onto later. It's not just getting by, but it's like this really sense of like vitality.
Yeah.
And vitality has this sense of energy.
Yeah.
So there's like an energy component to it as well. Yeah. That's just like, I want to take on the world. Like, carpe diem. So one of the reasons that I love vitality is that I had developed, and this was a long time ago, I guess like 2 or 3 years ago, something like that. I had developed what I called my vitality index. And that was basically, I was tracking different habits and actions that I was taking on a consistent basis and seeing if there was any correlation between how I was acting and the habits that I had and how I felt, like my overall level of happiness and vitality and, energy levels. And so what I did was I would track these different pillars, whether that was sleep, healthy eating, journaling, meditation, exercise, stress, deep work, all of these different things. And then I would weight them differently based on how I thought they affected me. And then I would average them out, and then it would That sounds very complicated.
It is very complicated.
It's a whole spreadsheet.
But I would average them out.
Based on their weighting. And then I would get essentially a vitality index is what I called it, my vitality index.
You're so
funny.
And
it was just this rating of how vital I was feeling at any given time. And it meant that because I was counting all of these different ones, it meant that if I missed sleeping well, I had to make sure that I was like eating healthy and exercising and journaling and meditating and, getting deep work in, because otherwise my vitality index would skew. So it wasn't like a rigid, you have to do these things every day, but it was this really interesting experiment. And then it also allowed me to go back and look and see when I did have a dip in my vitality.
Right.
What were the preceding actions that took place? Because one of the things I was keeping track of was stress and alcohol, right? So like alcohol or nicotine or anything like that. Basically, that would have a negative impact on my vitality score.
Right.
And I could see, not only did that have a negative impact on my vitality score, but preceding that event, I actually wasn't eating healthy.
Yeah.
And preceding that, I didn't sleep well. So if I didn't sleep well, it meant I didn't eat well, which meant I was more likely to consume alcohol, which meant my vitality was slowly tanking. Anyways, that was just one example of seeking vitality.
Yeah. And I think that, so I just have to say, what is that thing that they say? It's like what you can't change what you don't track. And
you can improve what you don't track.
Yeah. So I think that's been really helpful too for me as well, is to... And not that you have to get like all crazy about it.
You don't have to have a spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly. And track things for the rest of your life. But I think it really is helpful because our mind skews a lot of things. And so it is helpful to, when you track for a little while even, just to be like, that is what's actually happening. Just to kind of watch your behavior. It's a really great
just
way.
To look back on it is incredible. It's so much fun. And I would say, just for anyone listening or on YouTube, our baby daughter is waking up. So she's making weird noises. We're a little bit on edge. We might have to cut, but she's chill. So we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going.
She's looking around and smiling.
So seek vitality.
Right now.
Have a sense of energy, have a sense of vitality, both in terms of health, but then also like your mental health and, all of those things.
Yeah.
It is just a broader idea. So that's S.
That's S. We should probably move on before we literally do a whole podcast on Seek Vitality.
On just my vitality index. You just wait till I start bringing out the charts, the graphs. It gets really intense.
I know. Oh my goodness. Okay, so inner awareness.
Yes.
This was something that we both think is super important. And having practices that focus on making sure that we are continuously checking in with ourselves, that we have a relationship with ourselves as individuals, so that we can show up for each other. And I think inner awareness is so important. I don't know. It's just so important to me. And in cultivating that inner voice with yourself, two of my values that I have, personal values, are connection and intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are things that I can't tap into, this sense of connection and intuition, if I don't prioritize my own inner awareness and take time to meditate or do yoga or go on walks or journal or, just have that time by yourself. So yeah.
Would you say that these are the practices themselves create the space for that inner knowing and kind of inner awareness? Or is there a mindset that is almost preceding that really you are able to cultivate through some of the practices?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. I mean, the whole idea that we even have this as an intention,
Mm-hmm.
Inner awareness, it is that mindset that this is important and I want to hold this as a priority in my life, to hold it as a mindset to kind of constantly be checking in with yourself throughout your day,
mm-hmm.
while also having time set aside for practices that enhance that inner awareness,
mm-hmm.
or make it a priority. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know journaling has been, for the longest time, I wanted to be a journaler.
Yeah, you never journal.
I wanted to be, so here's what it was. I didn't want to journal. I wanted to be the type of person who journaled. I think we can all relate to that in some shape or fashion.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the type of person who journaled. And so finally, I was able to get into a habit, into a rhythm of it. And part of that was just a little bit of sheer force of will, of just being I'm going to journal on a consistent basis. And then that helped kind of cultivate this, I wouldn't say passion for it, but I get it. I get why this is helpful. I also enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I especially enjoyed going back and reading some of my previous journal entries and seeing some of the consistencies throughout.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
Yeah.
So that was one practice that allowed me to really tap into who I am and who I want to become, and also just to get ideas out of my head.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just
brain dump.
Yep. Very much so.
Yeah.
And then for me, the other practice of inner awareness, and I actually kind of got this from you, although, I've always, again, wanted to be the type of person that did this, but you inspired me, was meditation.
Yeah.
And your meditation was it seemed to have always been through yoga, your time on the mat. You were very deliberate and intentional, not only with your movements, but your breath. And then I think there was this just deeper mindset around it. And
you even made a weird little squeak.
We got a squeaker. And for me, meditation has actually been something that I didn't realize the impact it would have, but it has been such an incredible skill to develop.
I know.
And habit to have.
Yeah.
And I've gone through a number of different types of meditation practices, whether that was a mindfulness meditation, just focusing on the breath, like a transcendental meditation where you're repeating a mantra.
Yeah.
And I finally had settled on a practice that works for me, which is basically just feeling. I have this inner ball of stress that I carry inside of my stomach.
Oh.
It's incredible. And I just, if I'm not aware of it, it's possible.
Sense,
or that, a sense of just tightness somewhere in your body.
Yeah.
And if I can just focus on that tightness and breathe, and just every time you breathe, just feel it releasing.
Yeah.
It lets me be really present, really in my body.
Mm-hmm.
And after 10, 15, 20 minutes of that, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
I never thought I could feel that good.
Yeah.
And when I do it on a regular basis, it just has an effect across the board.
Yeah.
And when I don't do it, that's my vitality score.
You feel like a ball of stress.
Starts to
Yeah. And I think sometimes meditation, everybody has their own different relationship with it, or what they think it is or what they think it isn't. And I think that it's anything that you can kind of clear the slate for a little bit or stop thought. And if we can just like let the noise dissipate for any amount of time in our minds, that is meditation. You know?
That was one quote that I really appreciated from an online writer, thought leader person named Dan Coe. He talked about every day you should have a practice that fills your mind, a practice that uses your mind, and a practice that empties your mind.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And it's just a really simple heuristic to say, what's my practice for filling my mind?
Yeah.
What am I consuming? What's my practice for using my mind? Like, how am I actually sitting down and using what's stored away in there?
Right.
And how am I emptying my mind? And whether that's journaling, meditation, something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool. Next one.
Meaningful relationships.
Yes.
This is Maggie's bread and butter.
I love it. Meaningful relationships is definitely something that, is top of our list of things that we want to focus on this year and just in life in general. And cultivating those. And like I said earlier, it takes an inner awareness to be able to really show up fully, is what I think, to create meaningful relationships.
Could you define a meaningful relationship for me? How do you define it?
Ooh.
How do you define meaningful?
Yeah. I would say that it's where you're both. I think it's really meaningful relationships is really when you just care so deeply for each other and you have infinite amount of grace for each other as well.
You have a lot of grace for me.
I do. No.
I don't know about infinite.
No, but I do. I think it's just loving without needing that in return. But yet it just, by the act of loving, it just naturally happens.
You get something in return.
Right.
Because,
right.
reciprocity.
Or like, just by just being so open in relationship and not offering this energy of needing in return, then I think that's when relationships become the most beautiful. Because just in the act of being that open, you're obviously going to receive in infinite amounts.
Karma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think the two words play well together because we all have a general idea of what it is to be in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
And we all have some idea of something that's meaningful. But when you pair those two things together, meaningful relationships, it combines into a way that I think is really interesting. Because for me, relationship requires that actual connection, like doing something, or interacting in some way, even if that's via text or phone calls or whatever. And so part of that meaningful relationship is taking the time, being meaningful about the fact that we are in relationship, and putting some effort into that relationship. And so I've always struggled with, when you leave college, when you leave kind of the ease of relationship where you're living with someone or a group of people, and you're just, life and relationship is so easy in that sense. Because you're always together. You're always together. It's like, what are you doing this evening? It's like, I don't know. Like, I'm just hanging out. Like, well, I'm just hanging out too. Let's all hang out together.
Let's do it together. Yeah.
And when you get older, it's so hard to maintain those friendships because we have a limited amount of energy to put forth towards relationships. And so we decide to spend those relationship energy with, spouses or kids or, parents. And to make sure that we're setting aside time and energy and focus to build out those meaningful relationships with peers.
Yeah.
So that's something that I've been really focused on trying to cultivate. And I've noticed that as we're, now 2 months into this, I have not put as much effort into this pillar as I would like to. Because when I left King Solar, when I left the company that I was working with, I had relationships in the office day in and day out. We would just, by the nature of being there, it was so easy.
Right. But it's kind of like a spatial thing. Like you were talking about, like relationship. I mean, relationship is always kind of the thing, like one person and the relationship between the two, like the space in between. And so it's like when there's no space in between, it's easy to relate.
Yes.
It's easy to have that relationship.
Yeah.
And when you're far apart, it's harder to bridge that gap.
And it takes more effort, more energy.
It takes more. Yeah.
More
and
intention.
So then to make those, and then I guess then the added layer of meaningful, even when you are close in proximity,
sure.
Like how do you deepen it? How does it, are you just still sitting there on your phone?
Sense of meaning.
Yeah. Or even meaningful relationships, even from a distance they can be meaningful, but it's what we put into it, I think.
Yeah. And one of the reasons that I like putting myself out on the internet via things like this podcast or YouTube videos or writing is because in a sense, it allows me to put focused effort into something that I hope other people can find value in and can maintain their sense of connection with me. And so that way, when we get the opportunity to, whether that's be physically close to each other in terms of like hanging out or, phone calls or text or things like that.
Yeah.
It's a sense like it's a way for me to put effort into one thing and hopefully maintain connection with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I find that really enjoyable, that opportunity to think like, oh, the people that I care about are reading this.
Yeah.
It calls me to be my better self. It calls me to put a little bit more effort into it.
Yeah.
And it also gives me a little sense of I'm adding little drops into each of these relationship buckets.
Yeah.
And so if you are out there listening, thank you.
Yeah.
Just thank you for being in communication and connection and relationship with me.
Yeah. I second
really
that.
Means that. And part of that too is we've been receiving some emails and, comments and just people commenting on and talking about the things that we're doing. And that's so incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
And it's led to us reconnecting with people whom we hadn't talked with in a long time because they were saying, wow, I love getting this newsletter in our inbox. I love having these conversations. So cool. Hearing your guys' conversations. It's led to so many conversations with my spouse, with my partner, with my, friends. Yeah. And so, that's meaningful relationships.
The one last thing too that I want to say about meaningful relationships and why I think it's such a high priority is that it allows us to be able to see the uniqueness of each other and the differences of each other and get to celebrate those things. Sure. And then it reinforces for us as individuals to be even more ourselves and to be even more unique and different in the ways that we're different. And because I love when, you have a friend who's just so different from you and you get to see this other perspective of life and get to live life in a different way because of this person. It's so exciting. I love it. Anyway.
Very good.
That's it.
So simple. We are now SIMP.
Pursue creativity.
Pursue creativity. Maggie, what does it mean to pursue creativity?
Oh, it's so cool. So we really want to pursue creativity in the sense of as a mindset, like the way that we think and being creative and finding solutions and looking at life in this bigger way of there's always a solution to any problem. There's a million ways to be creative and to live life and to be not just this is how things are, but to be creative in the way that we think and do and whatever. And then also in the things that we find interesting too. So to pursue those things that we think are fun, music or art or dance or whatever, and
so Maggie's really into dance videos right now. we did Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within. Yeah. And part of that, experience, they had these dancers come out
to get your energy up.
What's the name of the company or the dance crew?
It's Embody
dance. And they come out and they're
on YouTube. You can look them up.
Take you through these dance videos. And now Maggie loves them and does them all the time. And Arlo does them with her. And it's so cute. And they dance together.
Fun. Like they're so much fun. Yeah, it's like pop music. It's like one of my favorite ones is like a Taylor Swift dance video. And I love it because as a mom, it's 10 minutes. Just 10-minute videos. And you're like, yes, I'm going to do this for 10 minutes. And like, she's fine for 10 minutes. She just babbles. And it's just fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So I definitely agree with you in terms of that pursuing creativity. First off, pursue has a sense of action to it. It's like, no, it takes effort and it's an action to take to look for opportunities for creativity.
Yes.
And I tend to break, we got Eva waking up here. I tend to break creativity into two buckets, like artistic expression.
Yeah.
And I think solution-oriented thinking, right?
Yes.
So there's the artistic expression form of creativity, which I've always been inspired by you and your level of artistic talent. So that's singing, music.
You're so sweet.
And then some of the mixed media and or like painting, those types of things that you do. It's so much fun. In fact, Arlo saw some of your paintings the other day and was like, Mama did that?
He's so cute.
Did he talk to you about it?
No.
Oh man, he was so blown away. He's like, no way. And I've always thought that was you were just always this incredible little artistic woman. And I was just blown away by that.
You guys are so sweet.
And so that's like, and that's something I think we're both passionate about in terms of, music and dance and those kind of things. But the area of creativity that I find most intriguing, and I definitely think aligns most with my goals, is creativity in problem solving.
Yeah.
And not always problem solving, but just looking for solutions.
Yeah.
And so I think there's like this sense of creativity that I want to embody as we are coming up against what could be considered dead ends, but are not. In fact,
nod to our last podcast.
There you go. Our family does not believe in dead ends. So instead of seeing a dead end, you use the opportunity for creativity to say, okay, we're at this point. What can we do to continue the process or change directions or iterate, or what creative solutions can I come up with? And a lot of that is learning how to do it so that I can model that for our children.
Yeah.
So that they can see what tenacity looks like. So they can see what perseverance looks like, and so they can see what creative problem solving looks like.
Well, and then alongside that, I think that's why you love business and entrepreneurship, because that's exactly what it is.
It's just solving problems.
Just solving problems for people
at scale.
and having a creative mind to do that. Because like for so long, I always call you like the idea man, because you just do. You have like so many great ideas.
Tons of ideas. Execution?
No.
Still working on it.
No. But yeah. The other thing that I want to say about that is that literally yesterday I saw a post or something, but it really inspired me because it was saying, as women, as moms, oftentimes it's so easy to get stuck in making sure that like everything is taken care of and the house is clean and all of that. And I'm definitely somebody who likes to have things in order in the house and things. And they were just kind of, just putting that little nugget out there to be like, hey, like that's always going to be there. And so when is the right time to then be creative? Don't let your creativity be on the back burner, because you don't want to just always have it for those downtimes. Like you have to actively make it part of your life. And I think that's what I love about the word pursue creativity, that I want to, actively make it a part of my life, not just leave it for the back burner times or the down times when everything else is taken care of.
It will never come.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Anyway.
Very cool. So that is simple.
Okay, what's up? L. Live dynamically. You came up with this one.
I like it, other than this is my least favorite in terms of just the phrasing that we had to fit it into the pillar.
Oh, right.
Dynamically.
Dynamically.
Please don't judge us. It's a sense of dynamism through which we want to live life. But that didn't fit.
That didn't fit in our acronym.
Yes. Live dynamically. To me, I actually like to think of it in terms of music. So as starting in 6th grade, played double bass in orchestra. And so learning
cool.
all of these different
dynamics.
Yeah. All these different concepts around music, and one of those being dynamics.
Yeah.
So whether that was like piano or forte or pianissimo, fortissimo. And so this idea of the full range, and that's what I want to experience in life, is a dynamic life that it has the full range. Yes, some downs, some lows, but in order to feel the high highs, I think we need that sense of dynamism.
Yeah.
And so looking for opportunities to live that full range of human experience.
Yeah.
To think about each day as a sense of adventure. And to say, not just how can I move from waking to sleeping, but like, how can I do something incredible or look for opportunities to like just have an adventure and try something unique and new.
Right.
Live dynamically.
Right. That's what I know. And that's one thing that I really like about it too, because we've talked on this podcast about vagabonding and just this idea of having a travel mindset while you're at home. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I think of live dynamically as well, is how can I have this sense of curiosity, a sense of curiosity about my world and my normal day-to-day life, and then look for ways that we can find an experience or seize something kind of random or
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That I just think there's something about that sense of intensity. I mean, and all of these things kind of build on each other. We had our beautiful baby daughter wake up in the middle of this recording, so we are jumping right back in. Thanks for your patience.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe she fell back asleep.
Yes, she did. She's awesome.
Love it.
Hey, Maggie, thank you so much for getting our daughter back to sleep. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And we were just finishing up Live Dynamically. Just one last thing is, yes, the sense of dynamism, the sense of opportunity to experience the fullness of life is really what I'm about, and what I also want to kind of have as a lens through which I view the world. And again, thinking through our children and the life that they are experiencing through us. How can we show them that this world is incredible? Yeah. Like there's some cool things. Right. Whether that's just teaching them about it, watching documentaries about it, or experiencing it. You know, that's really what I want to
living with curiosity and what can I learn from life? Yeah. What does it have to teach me? I love those kinds of questions and way of moving through the world with each other. I think that's really cool.
Very good. So live dynamically. Yeah. And that brings us to our last pillar.
Our last pillar.
E, my favorite.
E.
Embrace thriving.
Yeah.
Tell me, Maggie, how does one embrace thriving? What is thriving?
So silly. What is thriving?
What are we doing here?
Oh, man. It is, like we said earlier, it's not just getting by or having a pretty good time. It's embodying this sense of I am thriving and I am here to thrive. And I think we have to believe that before we can actually allow ourselves to feel like we're thriving in life.
Sure.
And I also think it's a decision as well. And I have said this about our other ones as well. But I think it takes a decision on our part to not let it be some sort of back burner thing or one day kind of thing that one day I'll finally thrive. But to be like, no, today I am going to thrive. And I'm going to decide to thrive.
Yeah.
And I'm going to decide to look at the things in my life that are showing me that, hey, I am thriving. You know?
Yeah. That's an interesting thought experiment to say, okay, what would it look like for me to thrive today?
Yeah.
Like, what would it look like?
Yeah.
In today, like in this, yes, I have these 4 things that I have to accomplish. What would it look like for me to thrive as I am accomplishing these tasks or moving through the world or doing this? Because sometimes it's just like a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, thriving could simply be accepting that you need to do these things and then moving forward and doing them with your whole heart and with a sense of energy and excitement and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
That just feels more dynamic and awesome.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, this is thriving.
Right.
And it positions you then to make different decisions the next day or the next day, you know?
Yeah. And same with the idea of happiness even is that we're living in a way where we're not relying on the circumstances of life to make me feel happy or make me feel like I'm thriving, because circumstances are always going to be changing. Some things are going to be good. Some things are going to be hard. Some things, and so if I'm going to ride that roller coaster along with it, it's like, whoa. So I have to decide to thrive through all of it. And how, like you said, what does thriving look like today for me?
Well, even in pain and struggle, I think we can still thrive.
Yeah.
Recognizing that pain and struggle is still a part of like the human experience. And the whole point of living dynamically is accepting that there are going to be lows.
Yeah.
And how we accept those lows and move through those lows can be either in a way that just gets by and the struggle, or can accept them and thrive through them and use them as, a launching off point or a catalyst for that next high or opportunity for success.
Yeah. And I think thriving too, there's a sense of leadership or like forward movement or like, I am taking the reins here, like I am deciding to thrive. And there's this song. I won't sing it, although I totally could.
You could totally sing it.
But
what's the song?
I was singing it in the shower this morning.
I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
But it's this song. Oh gosh, now it's not coming to me. But the line that sticks with me is, "It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well." And like just that sense of like, it is time now. Like I'm not going to sit around and wait for me to feel like I'm thriving. Like it is time. I am going to take the reins and I'm going to thrive and I'm going to lead in, the song says like, I'm going to lead in love. And that, I just love that. That's how I want to live my life.
I just want to point out that little bit of singing is like my happy place. So I tell you what, Maggie doesn't know we're going to do this, but to wrap up this podcast, we're going to have Maggie sing that song. So stick around to the end and you can hear Miss Maggie sing some incredible, as much of the song as you remember.
Yeah, exactly.
from your memory. I mean,
I'm down.
That opportunity to thrive. It is time now that we thrive. And again, it's not just getting by.
Yeah.
It's taking that next step and saying, I don't want to just get by. I'm fed up with just getting by. I want to actually embrace life. I truly want to seize the day, but not in the cliched sense. I want to like do something meaningful. I want to thrive.
Right. Like I don't want to just get by and I don't want to wait for it. I have to decide that this is the way I want to live. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
very
cool.
good. And so that is, ladies and gentlemen,
dun, dun, dun,
is our simple framework. And it is so simple.
It's so simple.
It's so simple. Well, and I love, so our podcast is called Finding Simple Abundance.
Yeah.
I guess that's what we're landing on now. We keep changing the podcast name.
I guess that's our name.
Finding Simple Abundance with Adam and Maggie. And the Simple Abundance in particular was a throwback to our urban farming days. We had a farm called Simple Abundance Farm. And that idea of seeing the world from a mindset of abundance and gratitude, but also recognizing that it doesn't need to be complicated. We can have like simplicity. And in a sense, that is what allows us access to that sense of abundance.
Yeah.
Because,
because it's all over. It's everywhere. It's
also
over.
like you suffer when you want things. Like desire leads to suffering, right? That's the Buddhist concept.
Yeah.
And so if we just can, I wouldn't say like necessarily even reduce the things that we want, but just live in a state of simplicity, like you realize that there is so much abundance in this world. And like through that, you actually are able to break through into a more abundant mindset.
Yeah.
And so finding simple abundance, this year of living intentionally, our experiment, really just taking opportunity to be intentional with the things that we are doing. And part of that is defining these, heuristics, these opportunities to gauge life and to see life and to understand our world and how we're moving through the world. And so I just wanted to say, Maggie, thank you so much for, helping me come up with this framework, because I use it every single day.
Yeah.
I use it as a reminder for how I want to live, how I want to show up with our kids, how I want to show up for you, how I want to show up for our community and for our friends. And so
it's been really fun.
Simple. Keep it simple.
And it's I think too, with this finding simple abundance is that it's a focus. It's where you put your focus. And so it's easy to, when you put your focus on like very simple things and like vegetables in the ground, rain coming from the clouds, the sun shining, these very simple,
beautifully passionate kiss.
Right. Exactly. You see the abundance in it. And so it's so that we can put our focus in these places so that we can always see life reminding and reflecting back to us the things that we're thinking, and we want to see it in a way that is abundant and not scarce. And that's also why I love the framework, is to have these things to focus on for us to come back to all the time. And I gotta say it, where your focus goes, your energy flows.
There you go. It's true. I mean, they're truisms for a reason.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Maggie, anything you want to wrap up with? Oh, I would say before we do log off, we wanted to take a second and say, if you are listening to this or are enjoying the newsletter, what would mean the most to us in the entire world is to share it with someone that you think you might find value in it. We don't, have any advertisers or anything like that. I mean, really, this is a passion project for us to kind of double down on the things that we're doing, but we do want to build this community. We want to hear from other people. We want to have an impact in the world that's greater than just ourselves. And so we are showing up day in and day out to try and become the best people that we can.
Yeah.
And we want to hopefully help others. So if you know of someone that would find value from this episode or from the newsletter, you can send them to adamandmaggie.com or findingsimpleabundance.com to sign up for the newsletter, or just share this YouTube video, or this podcast with them. That would mean the world to us, and hopefully to them, if we can all come up with our own frameworks and live better, awesome lives.
I know. Do you want me to end with my song?
Oh, yes. That would be great. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The moment you've been waiting for.
The moment. This is very off the cuff, too. I love it.
Maggie, I'm going to mute myself. And I guess, actually, I'm not going to mute myself because I might accidentally mute you. And that would be a bummer. Please continue. I'll just be quiet.
Don't breathe too heavily. Let's see. Oh. Okay, yeah. This is how it goes. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle around to tend these fires. We shall be known for the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Maggie. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you to everyone who's tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the newsletter. I hope you're enjoying this podcast.
Yeah.
And most of all, Maggie, thank you for sitting down with me today. I really appreciate it. It's
Thank
a great
you.
conversation.
This was fun.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.